Hey guys, J77 here doing another flashback review. And this movie, pretty much no surprise considering that the film is only 2 weeks away from being released, and that is Spider-Man starring Tobey Maguire and Christian Dunst. This is the film I saw in front of a packed crowd. I believe there were 3 screenings of this film in Staten Island when it first came out, and all 3 screenings were sold out, at least for the first couple of viewings. Can't really say it about the midnight screening, but I know it was a lot of people, very mixed between parents, just guys going to see the movie, and children. And for the most part, it was a very good, feel-good, go out and watch a movie kind of experience. My initial feeling after watching it a couple more times is it's good. Just good. I don't consider this as a great film. I don't consider it as a one of the best comic books movies, but it was a good, very good movie, something that I was very satisfied and considered to be the first of the other 2 films to come, because it actually ended pretty much in a cliffhanger, which you pretty much knew they was going to make another one. There was just no when about it. I guess if you want to say that I had a problem with a few things, but the one thing I think that really, even when I saw it in theaters and after I saw it again, that really bothered me a little bit, and after I did my research, I can understand why they probably did what they did, is there was a lot of, I felt the film a little bit incomplete, and that was largely because of what happened after 9/11. There was a lot of scenes that I think they had the Twin Towers, the World Trade Center, and I think they just removed it altogether, where if that scene was there, it probably would have had a better flow instead of the way they left it at. Mind you, they could have probably reshoot it, but I think they just decided just to edit it out and just go with what they already had. But it always did bother me that I always felt this film felt a little incomplete heading towards the next act, which to this day it still irks me. But it's a nitpick probably. It's not that it's going to deter me from the overall view of the film. I guess I probably might as well just break it up into to how I like this film. This film pretty much followed the Superman approach, and what I mean by that is they told you his beginnings, his middle, and how it all ended up for him. In this case, Spider-Man, you see him as Peter Parker, a person who really doesn't fit in, who's in love with the girl next door, which is Mary Jane. He pretty much daydreams about her every time. You see him go into a field trip with the class, and you pretty much witness him getting his powers from a radioactive spider who bits him. You see him start to take his toe, and pretty much he gets his powers the next day. It pretty much alternated his DNA. You also at the same time see the birth of the Green Goblin with Osborn, as he experiments himself on on these chemicals he had made, and it basically made him insane, but it also caused him to black out because he doesn't remember what happened that particular night, which he only found out that his assistant was killed by his hands, but he doesn't know it's him yet. You begin to see Peter Parker changing up. His structure, his body structure is different. You also begin to see how slowly it begins to change. How slowly he begins to realize that he has special abilities. He fights with Flash in the school hallway while he was getting his books out because of what happened in the cafeteria, which I can deal with that shenanigans somewhat, but yeah, it did kind of seem goofy, but that's just me. You see him, changing. You see him, experimenting. You also see him dealing with the powers he have, and not in a good way, because he's using the powers to impress Mary Jane, and how he tries to impress her is he figures by entering in the wrestling match he can win money to buy a new car. Well, he enters the wrestling match, and even though he won, he didn't get the money because a cricket promoter just basically gypped him and gave him, I think, $100. And that pretty much was the setup or the vehicle to the second act, which you begin to see when when the guy robbed the box office. And instead of Peter Parker stopping him with his abilities, he just let him go because, one, he's still angry with the promoter who gypped him. And I gotta tell you, that scene had got a lot of mixed reaction. I was a little surprised at how many people actually clapped on that scene, knowing it may come back to bite Peter Parker, and it did because Ben got shot. What ended up happening was that he was so much enraged he went after him, beat him up, unmask him, and only to find out that it was the same guy he let go. He ends up falling to his death by accident, but the damage is done. The guiltiness of what happened, him blaming himself for his own uncle's death, pretty much paved the way for him to become the Spider-Man that was seen later in the film. And how they transferred to that was simple. He went home to Aunt May, explained what happened. And at the same time, you see the Goblin, Osborn, taking out a couple of the people who wants to stop him from developing his experiments and stuff, like the collider, the serum that he's doing, and so on. And he does that by wiping them out. He wipes half the military out in one shot. And immediately it transferred to Peter Parker graduating. So, and that's what a lot of people had a little bit of problem with, because a lot of people who read the comics, I'm talking about from the start of time, pretty much knew he was Spider-Man while he was still a teenager, and he only revolves after he went for adult. There was a lot of stuff that happened, but Sam Raimi didn't follow the comic book style as much as people would like to see, but it still worked out in some ways. You see him graduating. You see Mary Jane breaking up with Flash Thompson, and she basically went on her merry way. She actually started dating Harry, who's Peter Parker's best friend, for a brief time. Pretty much, she was dating him, and we didn't go into the scene, which that's where I started to say something was missing. In this scene, you see him in his room. He's crying. He's explaining to Aunt May how much he missed him. He says some harsh words. You can tell he still has that guilt. And when Aunt May left, you can see the picture of him drawing the design for his costume. But you don't see him do his first heroics. All you see is a montage. And that's where I felt something was missing, because and I think a couple of people mentioned this, that there was a teaser trailer that showed him stopping a helicopter with the Twin Towers. I don't know. I never seen this trailer at all. I'm just keeping it real. And if they did have that trailer, it was currently gone after what happened at 9/11. But if anybody can confirm that, I really do appreciate it. But in any case, it went to the montage, and I just felt that was just something was supposed to be there, and it just never was there. But in any case, you went to the montage. You didn't see Jameson. You see his news and Daily Bugle. Great. The actor who played him was magnificent, by the way. I actually liked it how he portrayed Jonah Jameson a lot. And you can tell he wants pictures of Spider-Man because nobody able to get a picture of him. And that's where Peter Parker got the idea of taking pictures of his heroics to give to the Daily Bugle. Of course, the Daily Bugle was like, I don't want this, and basically, isn't this his way of saying, I don't want to hire you, but I'll still pay for the pictures. In any case, pretty much everything is being set up right there, and we go to the scene where many people have not so kind words about, I'm going to call it the Green Goblin. Not much of the actor, because I think the actor did a great job. It's the suit. People didn't like the suit. I thought it was fine. I thought it was okay. I don't think you can get any closer to what it is. I know that the suit looked I don't know how to pronounce it, but it didn't look like the suit that you can't use to see in the comic books or in the cartoon, but it was just there. I thought it was fun. I can live with it. If I can live with all the other stuff that's going on, I can live with that. I liked the fight scene a little bit. Also like the fact that in one of the scenes where he kidnaps Spider-Man and tranquilizes him, he's basically putting in his head that, you know, all you're doing is basically prolonging the inevitable. People are gonna hate you. They're gonna not gonna like you because they're gonna turn against you, and you'll see your watch. And you can see that playing into his head, because when he sees the papers about how Spider-Man is like his menace, he should not be worshipped. He's starting to say, "Well, I'm doing." You can tell that in his eyes, I'm trying to help the community, yet they're still turning against me. That's a lot to do with Jameson's feelings towards vigilante justice, because he feels that he's wearing a mask. He don't deserve to be worshipped as a hero. Which plays a lot into the Spider-Man universe, at least during the early parts. You also get the scene, and I thought it was an excellent scene, when Spider-Man saved Mary Jane from being attacked by a bunch of thugs. He beats him up, but he's beating him up without the mask. And for some reason, I actually liked that scene. I actually liked it a lot. You then begin to see that also the scenery where he comes from the firehouse, and he's fighting the Green Goblin. Green Goblin in a dinner table sort of wounds that Parker has. I actually thought that was interesting, and how he responds and how much he really don't like Mary Jane, and that pretty much tore the wedge between his best friend a little bit, because he knows that she actually likes Peter more than him. And I guess I can say that even though you know that the Green Goblin is pretty much almost taking full control of Osborn, you can still tell that there was a limit between him and his son. He actually still loved his son, and I guess from that scene when he's talking about Mary Jane to his father, you can actually see that there is still like a connection, even though it was very obvious that he's not proud of him. He loves him, but he's not proud of him. There's something about his son he doesn't like. He doesn't see him as an image of what he is. And that always seemed to play a part. I think that played a part more in the other two films than anything else. I could be wrong. You guys may disagree with that, but I always felt that wanting to be fully loved always played the part in the Osborn and how the goblins have manifested itself, especially in the last two films, even in the comic books for that matter. Yeah, during the end, I thought the ending was okay. The ending, pretty much, I expected a cliffhanger. The fight scene was okay. I liked the fight scene. It was very, very good. A lot of people was into the ending because they was like, kids was like, look out, Spider-Man, he's tricking you. It was very, very, very interesting how the kids was more into it than the adults. I don't think the adults was, not to say the adults was not into it, but the kids was really more into it. They was more like, that big gasp because they see a scary scene, especially when you see the tramp being stopped and the kids were in danger. They was really into that. I liked the fight scene. I thought they were very, very good, the ending. Granted, there were some ridiculous scenes that you definitely can question, but it's a comic book movie. Some of the stuff you gotta expect to be unbelievable. You just gotta suspend your belief for time to time. And there's a lot of stuff that's in there that you definitely just gotta say, okay, it's a comic book movie. They're doing it that way. Just go with the flow. I guess the one beef I had before they reached that, that climactic ending where you pretty much know there's going to be another movie, is that Spider-Man, for a reason I don't know, did not choose to take Osborn to the hospital or take him to somewhere where he can be found by a medical officer or even call the medic to tell where the Green Goblin is. Instead, he chose to take him home, knowing that there may be a chance that somebody might spot him and blame him for what happened, even though technically speaking he didn't do anything wrong. In fact, if he had to move out of the way, he'd be dead. But I always felt that was weird how he just grabbed Osborn's body and planted in the bed. And as long and behold, his son saw him and blamed him for his death. And the only conclusion I got is they have to set it up where he's going to be, where the reason why he's became the Hobgoblin, which they didn't do in the last third film, but I'll get to that later. That's the only explanation I have. That's the only explanation that I can actually think of. But I always found that very weird. He never really called the doctor, or I sent him to the medical office himself. That always bothered me a little bit with that scene. But in any case, it did set up. Mary Jane said she loved Peter Parker. He wants to be with Peter Parker, but Peter Parker's like, no, I can't. He doesn't tell her why, but he said, look, I can't take that risk. I can't let you go through that. I don't really care for you like that. I thought I did, but I didn't. But in reality, he's trying to protect her from his secret, which did a poor job, because he kissed her, and right away she knew that there was the same style of kiss that she gave to Spider-Man. Obviously, you can tell someone kisses. You can tell who the person is by their kisses. I guess that's how that is. But you can tell by her face that, wait a minute, could this be possible? Could he be Spider-Man? And it pretty much ends like that, with him walking away in a dramatic scene, and we now have the Spider-Man thing, and the film ends with probably one of my best theme song, "Hero" from Nickelback. I actually like that song. Like I said, I thought this was a good film. I didn't think it was a great film, but it was a good start to me, an overall good trilogy. I liked the characters. I had no problem with the characters at all. I thought the story was okay. I didn't think it was great, but I thought it was okay. Lots of stuff they took from the comic, but a lot of stuff they did not. But they balanced it out pretty much all right. I guess, like I said, again, the big beef I think I had, the pacing sometimes was a little out there. I didn't like the pacing as much. Pretty much in the going down the latter half, the third half, it just felt. The slow motion I didn't like at all. Some of the slow motion they had was just a little unnecessary. But it just felt that when some of the scenes, it was fine, but other scenes I think they try to rush a lot of stuff out, and it didn't work well with me. A lot of continuity problems I found, especially in the beginning where Spider-Man knocked the gun out of the robber's hand. I don't remember that guy picking it up, but when he's beating him up and he's punching him and he's actually saying, "Please give me that chance," I'm looking right at the guy's hand and saying, "The guy still has the gun. I thought he not knocked out the gun." I'm probably the only one that probably caught that. I know that's like a nitpick, but it always did bother me. I said, "Didn't he knock the gun out of the hand? How many? Did he have two guns?" Apparently, that just went by the wayside. Nobody really cared about it, and it just moves on. But again, I just felt that there were some parts that was needed, and they just took it out. And again, I'm not gonna fault that too much on the movie, because I did understand why, if that is the case. A lot of people told me that some of the scenes did involve the Twin Towers. But I did felt they could at least went back and shoot a different scene, because they just went right straight to the montage, and I felt they should have added something there to really introduce Spider-Man. The same way they did with Superman. Superman, I know he came out, he went flying, grabbed Lois, then grabbed the helicopter. That's classic right there. I felt that was missing that classic moment, and I was really wishing that they were actually added something there that will, make the transition from the montages much more better. But apparently, that's just my own take on that. I'm sure a lot of people will take that as agreed, and they don't have a problem with that. That's fine. The music, it's alright. I mean, it's not one of my favorite Danny Elfman songs, but it's something that's recognizable. It was used in all three, even though Elfman never had anything to do with the third one. They still use that theme song, and that's nice to know that at least when you hear that theme song, it's definitely recognizable. I don't know if they're gonna do that in the. I don't know who's doing the music for the newer ones, but for the most part, it was okay. It's recognizable, and it definitely does feel like a Spider-Man movie. The jokes. Not really much into it. I'm sorry. It just didn't. It was some miss, some hit, mostly miss. But action-wise, I enjoyed it. Acting-wise, I enjoyed it. An overall story, even though it was up and down, it was pretty much passable. Like I said, it's good. I don't consider it as the best, but it did bring comic book movies pretty much back. Because for a while, comic book movies just was almost dying out, and here comes Spider-Man. Even though a lot of people put Blade, I think Spider-Man deserved it for giving that extra boost, because Marvel movies was not being made as frequently as they are now, and Spider-Man do play a large part in that, and I'll give it credit for what credit's due. It really was a good film when it came out, and it's still enjoyable to watch today. So if anything else, I'd recommend it if you guys want to see a good comic book film and you don't want to be like hardcore like The Dark Knight is, and it's pretty much something that for both kids and parents to sit down and enjoy. Mind you, I still would advise you to watch it with your children. I would say go for it. I think it's a very, very good movie. I really do. Really recommend it as a family thing, especially if you guys like comic books, and you want something that is pretty much not going to scare the living daylights out of the kids. Watch it with your family. It's a good film for the family. I really do. Something you guys can talk about. Something you guys can say, "Oh, is he gonna escape, or is he or is he gonna fall?" Because again, the kids in the audience. I'll never forget this. Was really into this movie. This was really more of a kids' night out, and that's always a good thing when the kids have enjoyment, even if you don't like the movie. It's always good to see that the kids were really interacting in the film, really saying look out, don't go there and stuff. It really is bringing good, because it's doing its job. It's entertaining the kids. They're having a good time, and because they're having a good time, in some ways you're having a good time because you didn't feel like you waste your money on something that is just basically fruitless. So 3 stars. It's a good film. Mind you, again, it does come with a little bit of problems, but again, I just think it's just me nitpicking. I enjoyed it. Until Spider-Man 2, this is pretty much all I got to say about that. So until then, this is J77, signing off.